Hi guys, how's it going? Well, as we predicted earlier, the row on the fishing in the Channel Islands is escalating. Now, we've all become used to this government's tactics of diverting voters' attention from the reality of Brexit by focusing people's attention on a nationalistic rhetoric that, after all, let's not forget, has been extremely effective so far, okay? Now, unfortunately, however, this careless, laissez-faire approach to the use of nationalist inflammatory rhetoric on an international stage has a nasty habit of biting those who partake in such behaviour right on the backside. The upshot of this is that it's the people on the ground that inevitably suffer. And as events in the Channel Islands are becoming increasingly heated at exactly the wrong time, Johnson will most likely be required to deploy military assets again, not for any other reason other than to further deflect from the domestic economic carnage that has befallen the UK since Brexit. But with French elections looming, any potential president that is not seen to be standing up for the rights of French fishermen, be they right or be they wrong, is likely to fail in their bid to be elected. So in effect, we have two desperate situations, this time on both sides of the channel, and on whom many eyes are focused with military precision. So let's go. Now, can I remind you once again to hit that notification icon, as it appears that though you may have subscribed, many of you have not hit the notification bell that gives you the heads up on all the new uploads. Anyway, okay, French Maritime Minister Annick Girardin, whatever way she pronounced it, said France and the EU would work on possible responses over the next week, 2 weeks, unless the UK was able to resolve the dispute quickly. Paris is considering measures that would involve energy and trade, as well as rail services and British students living in France. And that's according to the French Maritime Minister, okay? After meeting with the fishing representatives on Wednesday last. She called on other European countries to show solidarity, because what France is going through today, she says, some others will also have to go through it. French fishing should not be taken hostage by the British for political ends. Her words, not mine, okay? And that's setting the scene. Now, to be quite clear here, I am not sure who was right. I am not sure who was wrong when it comes to this license issue. I don't know. However, that being said, it's important to remember here that the license refusal has affected mostly the small boats under 12 meters long, okay? Now, I don't know much about fishing, but I do know that sub 12 meter boats are generally found in the vicinities of the shorelines, the more coastal vessels, and they don't generally expose themselves to the hazardous conditions such as those found deep in the Bay of Biscay or further out into the Atlantic, where shelter is not an option, quick shelter. So I have a suspicion that these 12 meter boats, they were traditionally fishing those grounds. But as I say, that would suggest at least that the French are being given the short end of the stick, but I'm really not sure. And quite frankly, the why, when, and who, it doesn't matter. And let me explain why I think that doesn't matter. After 5 years of the EU being bombarded with insult after insult, tensions have been growing. And with the current unbelievably stupid behaviour of the UK government over the Belfast Agreement, that we should not forget for a second was negotiated by Frost and by Johnson after removing May from the top spot, the UK has pushed the EU, and I really fear the French in particular, right into a corner, which is never a good thing, okay? Now let's be clear, the relations between the French and the UK has never been good. Even when the UK sided with France during the war, still wasn't good. There is an extreme, deep-rooted mistrust between both nations that date back centuries and has raised its head on many occasions, such as the refusal of the French to stop supply of the Exocet missiles to Argentina during the Falklands War, the sinking of the ship Rainbow Warrior, and more recently, the Aussie submarine deal. There is, however, a significant difference between how the people on the street behave to protect their livelihoods. French fishermen will not allow any government to simply act as a bystanders. They won't allow it. We already saw this earlier in the year when French fishermen showed up in St. Heliers in May. Okay? If the fishermen take the law into their own hands, the French fishermen, and mount another symbolic blockade, which is almost a certainty, okay, both the French and British Navy will have to respond. Now let's get down to basics here. This means that warships will be deployed to protect their countrymen. They will, not only that, this will only end in two ways. One, being to erect barriers of some sort or other to prevent an escalation of tensions, or B, to intervene if their countrymen are under threat from either UK fishermen or UK military vessels, or French fishermen or French military vessels. Now, I know that some of you will be thinking, come on man, grow up, you know, this is, after all, this is 2021. To you I say this, Europe has been at each other's throats since time began, okay? And peace among European countries has never lasted longer than it has since the formation of the EEC back in the 60s. The EU, ironically, has been the most formidable weapon against inter-nation European wars. But that does not mean that EU nations have been at peace. It simply doesn't mean that. In fact, the UK's military have been on active service in more corners of the world as the US. And the UK used that military force on Iceland, who didn't even have a bloody navy we're talking about, on many occasions, as we saw during the Cod Wars of the 1970s. Excuse me. We also know that French industries do not sit back and hope that their government acts to protect their vested interests. The French will take far more militant action far more quickly than their UK counterparts. And unfortunately, I fear this is exactly what Johnson needs right now. Look, we all know the supply chain has been smashed, that the shelves are becoming more empty, and the fuel crisis has already led to profiteering, reduced choice of products, and sharply increased prices on the shelves. We know that. There is no good news from the US. The Australian deal has not been ratified. The Belfast Protocol is in danger of collapsing, and sanctions could be around the corner, which leaves Johnson in a bind. However, if Johnson has the opportunity to stoke up nationalistic bullcrap and focus attention on what he will call like an invasion of UK's sovereign soil, he can buy some more time. He cannot solve anything, but he can grab tomorrow's headlines in an effort to say things like, we must get behind the threat to our sovereignty and all of this sort of crap. That's what he would do. Unfortunately, the Numpty Brigade will also fall for that again, by the way. But this time the stakes are a lot higher and a lot more dangerous. The French fishermen will not be so easily appeased by rhetoric. They will want action, and they have the public behind them. Any potential president, that ignores their pleas for help will do so at their peril. If any UK military vessel engages with either a French fishing boat, no matter the significance, no matter the damage, the French fishermen will demand retaliatory action, and so too will the French people. Anytime the military are used to exert political pressure, bad things happen, okay? Blockades of Dover to Calais routes, along with power cuts and port blockades, are simply more effective tools. Luckily, there is a telltale sign that the UK authorities should notice. If they see a drop in EU vehicles passing through the tunnel, they can be 100% sure that those drivers have been warned. Unfortunately, by that time, it could well be too late for the British people, and the Brexit madness will continue to split the country right down the middle. We have to stop these guys. We've just got to stop them. Lobby your MPs. Thanks for watching, guys. See you on the flip side.